Thanks for clicking on a Backfire video. Sorry for the weird camera angles, by the way. My videographer Garrett's sick, and so I'm gonna try to just make do. But this should be pretty interesting. This gun is shooting 0.5, 0.6, sometimes 0.7 inch groups very, very well with factory Hornady match ammo. In this video, what we're gonna try to do is see if it can shoot factory ammo that well. If using hand loading, we can get this down to a 1/4 minute of accuracy. That's the goal, at least, no promises. Also, this is a 6.5 PRC with a short 20-inch barrel. And like we've mentioned in a couple recent videos, really that makes it a Creedmoor. If you're shooting a short barreled 6.5 PRC, you're losing enough velocity that you're probably gonna be at Creedmoor velocities. And so we're gonna see by switching some powders and reloading, if we can get this thing up to true 6.5 PRC velocities. Now, this isn't for nothing. It's because I always put myself in this predicament. I have a bear hunt next week. Today's my last day at home, and so I want to make sure my gun's dialed. It already was scoped. It was already shooting well, but every time before a hunt, I'm like, oh, let's see what we can do, try a new bullet, something. And so I did the unthinkable. I've re-scoped the gun. I've now put on a different scope that we're going to talk about in a second. We've got to get it re-sighted in, try to do our load development, and see if we can get our dope all in one day. And we'll talk about how exactly some of the unique things I do to set up a rifle for a hunt. Let's get going. It's going to be a long day. The reason that I'm outside in my backyard setting this up is the scope that I picked is the Leupold Mark V HD 3.6 to 18. Now, it can only parallax down to, I think, 50 yards. It can't focus any shorter than that. And usually I'll set this up in my house just down the hall, like maybe you've seen in some videos. But because this needs 50 yards to focus, I have a plumb bob set over there, just a line with a weight. And then I'm getting the reticle in the scope, perfectly matching the plumb bob. And then I'll set the anti-cant bubble. And when I do that, then when I go shooting, I can make sure to level up that bubble and that I'm good. So the question may be, like, how necessary is it really to have an anti-cant device? At 1,000 yards, a lot further than I'm going to be hunting, you'd be off by 5 inches if you cant just 1 degree. And 1 degree of cant is very, very tiny. Most people, the first time you shoot a gun with an anti-cant, a bubble, you'd be really surprised. If your reticle looks straight when you're shooting, you're probably canting the gun a lot. It probably will have to look a lot like that if you're right-handed. Because you're flopping your head over to the side to shoot. If you're right-handed, you flop to the left, I guess. Anyway, so, further than I'm gonna need to hunt, but I still just want to eke out every bit of precision because I want to take this out to the range a little bit later as well. Then I have a Fierce bipod, and on the back I have a backstop recoil pad so that I can do my best to see spot my impacts through the scope to try to soak up all that vibration possible. So let's get this anti-cant set up, and then we're going to get our load development and get out and shoot to see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this. This is my reloading area in the house. If you're in Backfire Plus, you probably spend a whole lot of time with me out here reloading because I have reloading courses there. On YouTube, I think this is the first time I've ever showed it, how I have my reloading area set up because they don't allow reloading. So what we're going to do is we're trying to take a gun that with factory Hornady match ammo is shooting, between 1/2 minute and 3/4 minute. Shooting very, very well. But we're trying to get to a 1/4 minute. And so we need to do some load development. The biggest advantage in hand loading is not so much that I can do each thing a tiny bit more consistent than the factory, though that's true, certainly. The biggest thing is that I can customize the ammo to exactly what my gun likes. And so we've tried the ELD match bullet. I really want to take on this bear hunt a burger bullet because you guys have been on my case about, I've never hunted with a burger bullet before. Shot thousands of them, but I've never hunted with it. And so I'm going to try the 140 grain Burger Elite Hunter. And the 35 round test is a really quick way to try to find something your gun likes. So I have 10 rounds each of 3 different settings, and I'm going to test them to see which one is the most accurate. Now, 10 rounds If we see a tiny difference in accuracy, probably means we're going to need to do more testing, but it should at least give us a pretty good idea if we're on the right track. So the settings that we're testing, I'm using that bullet. I'm using Reloader 26 powder. But what I'm doing is I'm changing the seating depth of the bullet. That's how far the bullet is pushed into the case. And when you load the cartridge into the chamber, the bullet has to jump a tiny amount before the ogive, the fat part of the bullet, hits the lands or the rifling in the barrel. And so we can jump 30 thousandths of an inch, 60 thousandths, or 90 thousandths. Those are the three settings that I'm going to try. For reference, this far apart on the calipers, that's what 30 thousandths of an inch is. It is tiny, tiny, tiny. And you might be surprised at how much of a difference that can sometimes play in the accuracy of the ammo. So we're going to go shoot them at now, and we're going to see which setting the gun likes. Here are the results of the test. We have the first two of the groups that I shot for each of the different seating depths. So I'll use my camera here so I can show you more closely. So this is 30 thousandths off the lands, 60 thousandths, and 90. How much jump there is in that bullet. And pretty obvious which one worked here. So the 90 thousandths off the lands looks like we're about ½ inch. 60 thousandths we're over an inch. And at 30 thousandths off the lands, those are tiny groups. Our goal was to get to 1/4 minute. So that'd be 0.26 inches. So here's our first group. Rough measurement here. Let's call that 0.36. And then our second group, let's call that 0.21. 0.36 and 0.21. 0.36 plus 0.21. Divided by 2, did we get to 1/4 minute? Oh, not quite. So these two consecutive groups, 3-shot groups, are 0.285 inches. We needed to get to 0.26. So we're 20 thousandths of an inch off of our goal. But man, I'm going to take that for our quick 35 round load development. It seems to be liking this bullet and powder and the seating depth pretty well. I am extremely excited about that. Next though, we got to look at the velocity, because remember, this is a 20-inch barrel, and we don't want this thing to be essentially a Creedmoor. We want it to shoot like a 6.5 PRC, you know, 2,900, 3,000 feet per second. So let's break out the chronograph, see what it can do. Rip off 2 shots here. Our standard deviation should be really low with these hand loads, so 2932. 2933. Okay, so they're 1 foot per second apart. You know, we'll probably want to shoot more shots to get like super precise on what the official velocity is. But 2933 is what this last shot was. And so the reason that I said in the video that you got to be careful with the short barreled 6.5 PRCs is because with the factory ammo, you know, we showed in that video speeds like 2,700 feet per second. So once we found out what load combination worked, you know, that 30 thousandths off the lands was shooting extremely well. Shot 10 rounds with it, and it was just so tight there that I'm done with developing the load. It's working incredibly well. And so I've gone and I've loaded 100 rounds now of it. We're back at the range, and now we're going to do some drop validation. So I entered everything in to my ballistics app. We're going to use the Kestrel this time, the Kestrel app and the actual Kestrel. And we're going to validate our drop now. So we're going to shoot this now out to distance. And I want to see not just do I hit, you know, a 300, 500, 600 yard plate, but I want to see where we're hitting on that plate. So that if we, you know, are trending up, you know, at 600 yards, we're in general shooting the top of that plate, then we can true our dope, and so that we get everything just perfectly dialed in here, so that we know when an animal's at 420 yards, we absolutely have the exact right information on what to dial for. Let's see. got things set up. The wind was really kicking up, and so I didn't want to get my official sight in, so I came in just the next day. Garrett's feeling a little bit better, ready to go today.
Yep,
he's excited to shoot this gun.
Oh yeah.
So he already shot one group. It was 1/2 inch over there, put in the barrel cooler, and now we're gonna get our official sight in. So he's gonna shoot 4 groups of 3 and make sure it's just really dialed in. Then I'm gonna shoot one group just to make sure that we hold the gun same, that the sight end's gonna be the same for me. But we're shooting a whole bunch of groups here to be absolutely certain that our 0 is correct. Then we're gonna take this thing out to distance at some different targets, and we're gonna verify our dope using the Kestrel. Looks like Garrett and I were both shooting the same. Both the groups went the same place. We got a 0.3 inch group on that last one. But I noticed a little trend. 5 of the shots were 1 click up. The one shot was exactly right. So I'm gonna come down 1 more. We got this thing really, really cooled, and I wanna make sure the cold bore shot doesn't kick left like that very first one did. And as long as those things are okay with this group, we're gonna call it good. Up next, we're gonna talk about a few of the things that we're doing that are, I think, important for setting the gun up specifically for hunting. But first, we got targets out here. Look out there. From 300, 500, and 600 yards. Tiny little steel targets out there. We're gonna see how we do. And we're checking to see if our dope on the Kestrel is correct. That's dead milk jug right there. Impact. Great. That'll give you the confidence. That's 2 dead milk jugs in a row. Kaboom! All right, I'm feeling pretty good about this. This gun just can't miss, Garrett. Awesome, man. It is just, the dope is perfect. Just typed it in the first time, needed 0 adjustment. It's shooting fast, shooting a good bullet. It's shooting 1/4 minute groups. I love the setup. Oh, it's awesome. Okay, now we got to talk about a few specific things we got to do to get this hunt ready. First one is we're going to come to the suppressor. So we showed this in a recent video. So ignore these shots, those previous groups. So we took 2 shots with this as our aim point, and they were right there. The next 2 shots with the suppressor loose, this was the aiming point, and they landed down there. That is like 5 inches away from the point of aim, just with that suppressor being a 1/4 turn loose. We showed that if you just have a suppressor or a muzzle brake just a 1/4 turn loose, any vibration up here and you are in big trouble. So I did put just a drop of the Loctite blue on this. Loctite blue is like medium, like low protection in terms of threads getting loose. I've had a couple things work themselves loose even with the Loctite. And so, do you guys know of anything that's just a little bit stronger? It's gonna let me get it off when I need to, but just a little bit stronger. Because with a hunting gun, I do not want the remotest possibility of something coming loose. I've teased this several times on like YouTube lives and things, but this is actually the first time that I'm showing this on the channel. This is called turret tags. This is so, I'm super excited about this for hunting. So these are quick adjust yardage stickers for any scope. The idea is, I mean, hey, cool. If I have the time, a bear's feeding, and I can open up my Kestrel and futz with it and dial everything in perfect, that's great. But very often that's just not the case when you're hunting. You know, the deer, the caribou, the whatever is going to go over a hill and you just don't have that much time. And so we've got to have some way to get your dope quickly. You can put a card on your stock. That's cool. That's a good solution, but then you're kind of getting off and stuff. Important one for this hunt specifically, this is a spring bear hunt we're going on. It's almost certainly going to rain a couple of the days. And so some kind of scope cover. This is really beautiful, by the way. We got a Maven scope cover. We got a Vortex bubble level on a loop-holed scope. I just love it. I just love the mix matched everything. Cool, so we can protect that from the rain. We have our backstop recoil pad on here to soak up the impact of the recoil so that we can spot things more easily in the scope. Now, I've talked about a bipod for hunting, and boy, when I want ultra light, that's one that I'll usually take off the bipod and just use my backpack to shoot off of. Bipod's gonna be a tiny bit more stable. We're gonna take everything we can. We just made impact after impact after impact, not just the ones on the camera, but many more. We didn't drop a single shot. And so I'm feeling really confident with this, and we'll see if this thing can whack a bear in a future video. Thanks everybody for joining us in this video. See you in the next one.